Welcome back, everybody, to the 2017 Pokemon Video Game Regional Championships here in Portland, Oregon. My name is Duiha. Joining me at the table,
Zach.
Still Zach? Exciting matchup for you guys coming into round 6. Both players are now 4-1. Hayden McTavish, former senior world champion in 2013, versus Bennett Piercy, former national champion in, I believe it was 2014.
I think it was 15, seniors.
I casted that. Yeah, you're right. 2015. Yeah.
I think.
Yep, you're right. Nope, yeah, you're right. 2015, senior United States national champion. Both of them Canadian citizens. Both of them down here in Portland, ready to duke it out for the title of Oregon regional champion.
Yeah, should be a pretty good matchup here. Especially we haven't seen it on stream today. Slowking on Bennett's side, and we haven't seen a Tapu Fini today.
Dude, I didn't even notice that Slowking in team preview.
Yeah, and then Mandibuzz. So some interesting new stuff that we haven't caught on stream today. So it should be a little bit of a change-up.
Yeah, so going into team preview, Mandibuzz, Tapu Fini, Marowak, Snorlax, Kartana, and Garchomp for Hayden's side. Ben running Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Kartana, Arcanine, Snorlax, and Slowking. Slowking, obviously the Trick 'em setter.
Yeah, looks like a double Tapu, double Psychic. Snorlax for Snorlax. Some Kartana versus Kartana. A lot of the same stuff. But I think what makes a lot of these teams different is just, the text on the Pokemon, and also like how they work alongside the things that are different on the teams, like Mandibuzz versus the Slowking or whatever, something like that. So it's there's different niches and twists to each team, and it's interesting to see how they interact. It's not drastically different, but there's enough differentiation that these teams interact in different ways, and we've seen it almost exactly the same teams playing each other, and they're just totally different sets. Arcanine, offense versus defensive Arcanine, offensive Koko versus Assault Vest Koko, just different things.
And going into the leads, Hayden McTavish going to lead with Mandibuzz and Kartana. Kartana and Tapu Lele leads out for Ben. No Misty Seed on that Mandibuzz, which is something that Mandibuzz really enjoys having.
Yeah. Usually you see it, but who knows? Maybe it could be a Pinch Berry. Could be.
Well, the Misty terrain hasn't activated. He hasn't brought his Tapu Fini.
Sorry, wow, I was really spaced on that one.
Hey, man, we skipped lunch.
Yeah. Kartana versus the Tapu Lele. The Kartana on Hayden is the bottom screen, correct?
Yes.
All right, so on Hayden's side, looks in a really good position. Mandibuzz really can't argue if he does switch Fini in, but I don't know why he would with the Kartana out on the field. And Marowak comes in.
Marowak switches in, probably trying to take a Moonblast from that Tapu Lele, as Kartana protects itself over on, I believe, Bennett's side protected itself, right? As Tapu Lele. Oh, sorry. So Hayden's Kartana protects, and then the Tapu Lele over on Bennett's side went for the Moonblast into that Marowak slot, as Kartana over on Bennett's side goes on the offensive.
Yeah, and it does all over half to Marowak, so he could double it again and get the knockout. But the Kartana on Hayden's side does threaten the Tapu Lele. I don't think we're going to see that happen.
Yeah, now you know that Tapu Lele is most likely Choice Scarf since it outsped the Kartana.
Oh, yeah, and that's good information. And it's also locked into Moonblast if that's the case. So in a good position here if you're Hayden against the Tapu Lele. Probably thinking it might switch here. Depends. Looks like in this case, Arcanine would be a good switch in. You have Kartana and Marowak out there. It doesn't do, they're not going to do a whole lot to it.
Still got to respect the bone rank, but the Intimidate's really nice.
Yeah.
Tapu Lele switches out. Snorlax going to come in. Probably going to try to take a Shadow Bone in that case for that Tapu Lele, as Marowak instead decides to protect, not wanting to get knocked out just yet. It was pretty risky. A double into that would have knocked out the Marowak, but instead we see the Kartana now go for a Bloom Doom over on Hayden's side here. Going to go ahead. I believe it was Hayden's side, right?
Is that a Bloom Doom?
It was Bloom Doom.
And
Bloom Doom Kartana does a lot of damage.
Yeah, and its attack stat is so high that Bloom Doom, even with Leaf Blade, is really, really, really strong.
Hits the Snorlax. Let's see how much damage this does to that Snorlax. Snorlax is a very bulky Pokemon. Good damage. Unfortunately, it does activate the berry. Going to activate the Figgy Berry and heal back up to a lot of health. As the Kartana over on Bennett's side goes for a Leaf Blade into the Kartana on Hayden's side, doing a little bit of chip damage, possibly breaking focus. Oh, it's not a Focus Sash. It's carrying the Grass EMZ.
Yeah, not breaking a sash, but, he kind of figured that out before he made his move. Either way, safe play by Bennett. Safe play by Hayden to an extent. New Lele was scarfed, and he knew he was going to switch. If he's switching to Arcanine, it would have done probably 30-40% negligible damage. He did not bring Arcanine, though. Hayden's team does deter that quite a bit. Snorlax, Garchomp, Mandibuzz, Finny, Marowak, all very, very good against Arcanine, so not a whole lot of reason to bring it. But in that situation against these two Pokemon, pretty good.
And I wonder, I'm kind of thinking that maybe that Kartana over on Bennett's side went for the Leaf Blade just in case the Tapu Fini switched in to take a Sacred Sword.
Yeah, that could have been a case.
Or a Secret Sword. Kartana on Hayden's side now goes for a Substitute, as the Sacred Sword does connect onto the Kartana on Hayden's side from Ben's side, as the Kartana Substitute fades, so definitely probably expecting a Tapu Fini to switch in right there for the previous turn. And now Marowak gets to go for a Flare Blitz here, going to target down that Kartana, going to do a lot of damage, but Kartana on Bennett's side hangs on with the Focus Sash. A lot of recoil is going to be done to that Marowak, though, but Marowak hangs on. So now Snorlax gets to go for a Recycle, going to start setting up, going to try to stay on the field as long as possible, going to recycle that Figgy Berry.
Yep.
And so now if it gets knocked down to below 50%, it can just eat that berry up again.
That's one thing about Snorlax, just can't get rid of it sometimes. Even if it doesn't even have boosts, and nothing on this team probably can knock it out from where it's at. Marowak Flare Blitz will come real close, but it's not going to do the job. And Hayden's side, it's got to be a pain to try to take that out.
Yeah, and Kartana can still go for Sacred Sword.
Yeah, it could go for a Sacred Sword, but I'm not sure if that actually knocks out the Snorlax, especially if they invest and train in defense. A little tricky. But again, you can try to double it, but it does get Protect on top of that. And I don't know most of them, but a lot of them carry Protect. So
Marowak now switches out, going to switch into Mandibuzz, still operating in that Psychic Terrain. Not sure if Tapu Fini is in the back. Kartana now going to protect itself on Hayden's side, and Kartana on Bennett's side continuing to go for that Sacred Sword to try to pick up the KO. Snorlax now using this turn to set up Curse, but that Sacred Sword on potentially that Kartana on Hayden's side will just bypass that defense boost.
Yeah, that should be that, and plus the foul play definitely doesn't really care about that boost. Defense and attack even out. Foul play obviously calculated by the attack and the defense of the opponent. So pretty good switch for Hayden. Can't really argue. I don't think anything changed a whole lot with that Curse.
You can also knock off that berry.
Could knock off the berry. I don't know if there's a recycle.
No, you can't recycle if it gets knocked off.
Interesting. So that could be something you could do. You could also go for, if he has Razor Leaf, would be a good move here. Razor Leaf plus knockoff, Razor Leaf
Crit
plus
Leaf?
Play. Yeah. That's what Kartana's there for, huh?
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to pick up the double KO, but nope. Instead, we see Kartana on the Hayden side switch out. Marowak now going to come in, probably try and take that Sacred Sword. Yep, takes that Sacred Sword pretty well because it's immune to it, as Mandibuzz uses the turn to set up Tailwind. Now that Marowak should be able to outspeed that Kartana depending on how they're trained. But Snorlax now goes for a huge double. Oh, a double into that slot.
Hayden,
trying to make sure that the KO is there.
Yeah, Hayden read that perfectly. I don't know if that was, it's something he called or not with a double edge. I know the Secret Sword probably, he's been going for it for every turn basically. So switching that in was definitely to prevent his Kartana from taking it. But double edge, also a good move. Maybe he expected to, KO the Kartana or do enough damage to it to double edge would have knocked out the rest of it. Don't know if he expected the Marowak to switch in. Either way, it worked out really well for Hayden. And if that Marowak's faster than the Kartana in Tailwind, big plus for him here. Now he can just outrun everything and he can take down what he wants to.
Also, interestingly to note, that Snorlax carries double edge.
Yeah.
A lot of Snorlax actually opt to carry Frustration or Return. But double edge, with that Gluttony ability, just damaging itself, activating that berry. We see the foul play connect onto that Snorlax now. Going to go ahead and activate that Figgy Berry that it found a little bit earlier and bring it back to more health than it had. Marowak goes for the Flare Blitz, going to target down that Snorlax, and now, a critical hit. Huge critical hit right there from Hayden's side to knock out that Snorlax on Bennett's side, but that's going to knock the Marowak out itself. So now Kartana gets to move, going to be able to attack this Mandibuzz here. Going to go for a Leaf Blade just in case something decides to switch in. Going to do a fair amount of damage, I guess, maybe like 25%.
A little less, but it's kind of negligible.
Math isn't my strong point.
It's all good. It's all good. It's the point where it's at right now is nothing that Kartana's going to be able to do to that Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz in Tailwind can just knock out Kartana if it needs to. Anything that comes in here is to be really wary of whatever Hayden switches in. So I think Hayden's in a really good spot, especially after critical hitting that Snorlax.
Yeah, and even then, I'm pretty sure his Kartana had Sacred Sword in the back to deal with that Snorlax anyways to bypass those curse boosts.
Yeah, he did have a way to beat it. I think that was a lot sooner than Bennett would have liked him to beat it, but he would have been able to take it out at some point.
Yeah, and Slow King comes in, but unfortunately for Bennett, it's facing down a Mana Buzz and a Kartana. Kartana will just absolutely destroy and shred Slow King to pieces with a Leaf Blade.
Yeah, I probably wishes he had Slowbro here. Would have been a lot better against Kartana Mana Buzz. I'm not 100% sure why it was brought. Does wall off Finny pretty well, but Hayden having 5 physical attackers, well, 4 and then Mana Buzz, is probably not the best situation for Slow King. Maybe he really wants Trick Room up here, but again, Hayden also has Snorlax and Marowak, so maybe it's something he won't bring into future games after seeing the situation it's in right now. Slow King kind of smiling, but not for long.
So now Bennett going to withdraw that Slow King. Bennett not wanting it to get knocked out just yet. Unfortunate switching right there after the knockout Pokemon, but Tapu Lele coming in. Kartana can still deal with that Tapu Lele fairly well, as we see the opposing Kartana on Bennett's side go for the protect, not wanting to get knocked out just yet, and Kartana on Hayden's side going for the opportunity to set up a free substitute here. Mana Buzz goes for a Snarl. That's pretty good. It's going to weaken Tapu Lele's damage output by dropping its special attack stat by 1 more stage.
Yeah, good play. Definitely drops Tapu Lele's stat, definitely puts him in good position to take a hit this turn if he wants to. Mana Buzz now won't get taken much from Moonblast. Really can't complain about that play. It would have broken it would have knocked out Kartana. It was only 1 HP. Now at this point, you can double the Tapu Lele if he wants to. He can Snarl again and Smart Strike, which knocks it out. Hayden's got this in the bag.
Yeah? And, I understand why Bennett decided to protect that Kartana. Doesn't want to give up that Beast Boost just yet.
Yeah.
Kartana with 1 Beast Boost can actually snowball out of control really easily.
Yeah.
Slow King now switches in for that Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele going to reset its special attack stat as we see, a Psychic Seed on that Slow King. Going to activate, boost the special defense here, as now Kartana goes for a Leaf Blade on that Slow King. Not enough to pick up the 1-hit KO. Slow King barely hanging on as Mana Buzz goes for a foul play into that Kartana slot right there after it tried to protect yet again.
And Kartana goes down. I always think it's Ferrothorn, and I think the Iron Barbs are going to happen.
Wrong steel grass typing. I've seen it. You confuse Celesteal for Skarmory so far.
Yeah, hey.
And now Kartana for a Ferrothorn.
Dude,
so.
I'm still living in the past.
Oh, aren't we all?
Yeah.
We were good at this game. Tapu Lele switches in, but Hayden is in such good position. It should be wrapped up pretty easily. There's still pressure from that Mana Buzz to go for Snarls on that Tapu Lele. Snarl can even pick up the KO on Slow King.
Yeah. Snarl and Smart Strike should finish this one off. Mana Buzz survives this, so...
No, it doesn't hang on. Gets knocked out from that Moonblast, from that Tapu Lele. But Kartana now goes for the Leaf Blade. Going to target down this Slow King, get a Beast Boost. And again, that is a Scarf Tapu Lele.
Yeah, it is. Outside the Kartana, Tapu Lele do not go that fast.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's just attack the Lele and win the game for Hayden.
Hiding behind a substitute, and Hayden still has 1 more Pokemon in the back, I believe. We do see the Snorlax come in. And, hey, at least Bennett gets to see all 4 of Hayden's Pokemon.
Yeah, big thing to see here, at least. Now he knows the Snorlax is there. Hayden brought he did not bring the Tapu Fini, so Slow King basically didn't have any purpose other than setting up Trick Room here. Defensively, at least. Offensively, it's not a huge presence, so with a Psychic terrain up, it might be okay, but I don't know if he brings that in the future. I think that's the thing Bennett adjusts and brings something different. Maybe Arcanine.
And Kartana picks up the KO on Tapu Lele, and Hayden McTavish takes Game 1 here of Round 6. Both players 4-1. Both players former big tournament champions. Both players trying to add another regional title to their belt. Maybe even their first regional title to their belt. I'm not sure if Bennett has actually won a regional yet. But now going into Game 2, that Kartana is problematic for Bennett.
Yeah, it is. And the only way you can stop that, on his team at least, is with an Arcanine.
Yeah, and I feel like Bennett kind of was worried about that Tapu Fini. So he loaded his team up with a lot of decent Tapu Fini counters. I'm actually really surprised to see that Slow King had that Psychic Seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that he brought Slow King. I still am really surprised by that. You have Tapu Koko and Arcanine, both probably a little bit better, especially if you're worried about that Kartana. He has to worry about the 4 physical attackers on Hayden's side. He doesn't really have a way to deal with that. He doesn't have really anything defensively bulky. He has a Tapu Lele The Kartana and the Kartana's the only thing. Snorlax is all right, but you have to get a curse up for that. So I think Arcanine comes here. I think you're going to see that over the Slowking. And Bennett's just going to have to play with Hayden, take the blows. He's not going to be able to do anything while getting Trick Room up. It's just not going to be feasible for him.
You're going to want to try to intimidate that Kartana before it gets up some substitutes either. We're really seeing those substitutes pay dividends for Hayden. Bennett did try to go for some – he did overextend on some reads.
Yeah.
He did overextend on one of the reads in Game 1 where he expected maybe a Tapu Fini to come in, so he leaf-bladed that Kartana.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one. And the Tapu Fini never showed up. So
no, didn't. And I don't really see anything else that you really want to leaf blade on this team. Sacred Sword, I guess maybe expecting a Marowak to switch in, but
yeah, and there's nothing really else. So maybe he understands, hey, he's not bringing Fini here. He's going to bring 4 physical attackers.
Well, now that you say that, Tapu Fini is definitely going to come.
Hey, maybe it will. Maybe it comes because and it doesn't. It does stop Arcanine pretty well, but if there's a Snarl on it, Arcanine can at least hang around for a while.
Even then, it can Wild Charge as well.
Yeah,
Arcanine can't carry Wild Charge.
Yeah. If you have an Electrium.
Oh, Gigavolt Havocs? Actually, I think that's a very cool tech on Arcanines.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. We don't even know what items besides Tapu Lele for sure is Choice Scarf. Mandibuzz and Marowak leads for Hayden. On the other side, Bennett with Kartana and Tapu Lele. Going to go ahead and activate the Psychic Surge. Going to make the battlefield all weird yet again.
Yep, keeping Portland weird.
There's no Misty Swirls. Like, we haven't seen that all day, surprisingly.
And the Misty Swirls?
The Misty Swirls. Misty Terrain. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen Tapu Fini hit the field.
We have not seen a single Tapu Fini, and that's really strange given that it was so prominent in the metagame maybe a month or two ago, and now it's just we see it in Hayden's team, but we haven't seen him bring it. There's no reason to.
Shift to the Tapu Lele Drifloon cores, right?
Yeah, the shift has gone. Drifloon, and who knows where it goes next? Maybe Gyarados.
I like Gyarados. I mean, we saw it in the previous round not do work, but it was still pretty good. All right, so now, what do you think, Zach? Where do we go from here? Mandibuzz switches out. Not going to want. Oh, Tapu Fini going to reverse the. I guess change the terrain is a slightly better phrase to use. Going to bring out the Misty Terrain. Tapu Lele now goes for a Moonblast. Going to lock itself into Moonblast. Tapu Fini probably going to take that fairly well. Tapu Fini is a very bulky Pokemon. Does get a special attack drop. Going to lower the damage output of that Tapu Fini as Kartana goes for a Leaf Blade onto that Marowak. And now Marowak goes for a Shadow Bone here. Going to connect onto that Tapu Lele and be able to pick up the one-hit KO. So probably expecting that Kartana to not want to stay in against a Marowak.
Yeah, probably didn't want it. Didn't think it would. And it did, but I don't know how much it pays dividends for him here. He has to have something to stop the Marowak here. I don't know. Slowking maybe, but even then, Shadow Bone takes that out. So he doesn't have really any answer except Tapu Lele and Snorlax or Marowak. And I don't even know if Snorlax has high horsepower. It has to have high horsepower to deal with it. Other than that, Tapu Koko won't do anything. Kartana won't do anything. Arcanine really can't do a whole lot. That Marowak puts Bennett in a really compromising position. I don't know how else he can.
Here's the Snorlax.
Yeah, here's the Snorlax. This may be his only hope.
I think Snorlax can do it. Even if Snorlax gets up one curse, that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Last game, Snorlax got knocked out simply because of the critical hit. I think Snorlax could have been a great win condition for Ben, and he's probably gonna have to maintain Snorlax here.
Yeah, and what is good for Ben here is that he has Kartana and Snorlax against the Fini. Makes Fini pretty useless. Depends on the last one he brought in back. Last game it was the Slowking. This game maybe it's a Koko. Maybe it's which you would kind of win more against the Tapu Fini.
And Tapu Fini does not want to stay in. Going to switch out. Going into Mandibuzz now. Are we going to see that Misty Seed activate once it hits the field? Yeah, we do see the Misty Seed activate. Now Mandibuzz is going to get a special defense boost as Kartana goes for a Leaf Blade into that what was Tapu Fini. Now is that Mandibuzz. Not very effective. We see one critical hit there as Marowak goes for a Shadow Bone into that Kartana. Not wanting to take recoil. At the same time, already knowing that there's a Focus Sash there as Snorlax goes for a Double Edge into that Marowak slot. Expecting a switch, possibly?
Maybe? I don't know. Confused at that one. Kind of want to high horsepower that slot. You want to get rid of the Marowak. You want to get rid of the 0 Pokemon except Mandibuzz that can fly. So, kind of questionable. I don't know what else he would have switched in there. Maybe Mandibuzz. Maybe he switched in a Mandibuzz switch for Marowak.
Possibly.
That could have been something. I mean, it's...
To take the high horsepower.
Yeah. it's at this point kind of desperate for Bennett. So I guess desperate times call for desperate measures.
Hayden's playing really well. Hayden's doing some great switches. And Bennett, again, I think he might just be overextending just a little bit as Cartana goes for a smart strike on Bennett's side, targeting down the Mandibuzz, bringing it down to less than 50%. Mandibuzz now using this turn to set up a tailwind on Hayden's side, going to boost his team speed by double as Marowak again continues to go for a Shadow Bone, going to pick up the Cartana without taking any recoil because of Flare Blitz.
Yeah, good play. Curse, yep.
Yep, all right, so Snorlax now using this turn to set up a curse, but of course, Cartana in the back can easily just go for a Sacred Sword.
Yeah, it does help the damage output, and it does help the defense for Marowak, but everything else doesn't really make a huge difference. So at this point, Hayden's just got to play smart and finish the game off. The Arcanine did come this game, but maybe a little too late.
Well, there's still that Cartana in the back, but I believe that these are the last two Pokemon for Bennett. So it's going to come down to whether or not the Snorlax can really edge it out by itself.
I think at this point, Hayden wants to just take out the Snorlax. Feeny can handle the Arcanine. Just get enough damage on the Snorlax is his goal, I'm pretty sure. And he might be able to do it. Foul Play didn't do a whole lot. Now with -1 Marowak, he might switch something here, but we'll see what transpires. If he puts the Snorlax in Smart Strike range, that's pretty much the goal of the game for him. Or Sacred Sword range. That's Smart Strike. Yeah,
and 4 against 2, tough hole for Bennett to try to crawl out of, but if there's a Snorlax, there's a way.
Yeah.
Mandibuzz using this turn to go for a Roost. Going to try to heal back up. Almost at full health right now.
Oh, that's it.
All right. I respect that move a lot.
Yeah.
Perish Song on Marowak. A lot of people try to figure out what that 4th move on Marowak should be. Hayden using this turn to show that it should be Perish Song because that puts so much pressure on Bennett.
Yep, and that should do the. I mean, as long as he protects and stalls out the game, that's it.
Yeah.
But Arcanine going for the Z move for an overdrive.
Targeting down most likely what's going to be this Mandibuzz here.
Yeah, and should survive this. If he's trained it.
It's a physical one, I believe.
Yeah.
If it's physical, maybe. I don't know. It's going to do a lot of damage. Mandibuzz is so tanky. Snorlax using this turn to curse, but just that Perish Song, so clutch.
Yeah, that Perish Song probably, I mean, that definitely ends it. That ends it a lot more safely than anything else would have. I think Hayden's got like something up his sleeve there too, especially with the way this team plays. Just whittle a couple mons down, get rid of 2, Bloom Doom something, which does a lot of damage.
Get 2 quick knockouts, send in Marowak, go for a Perish Song.
Yeah, and it just maintain. And his team is really good at maintaining. He's got the recovery on Mandibuzz. He's got a Tapu Fini. He's got a Snorlax that can maintain and recover. I like this. I like that a lot, and I think Hayden could go far with this if he keeps win cons like that in mind.
Right, Mandibuzz just sits there.
Yeah.
What a great Snorlax counter.
Yeah.
We thought Snorlax was the key, but Marowak says otherwise. Perish Song setting up. And, that's one of the great calls of this format. A lot of Pokemon try to just sit there and set up.
Yep.
But Perish Song doesn't allow you to do that. It forces you to either switch or it just ends the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you can't switch, it ends the game.
Yeah. And now, Hayden's just going to play to his advantage. He's just going to try to get this Perish Song to finish off the remaining Pokemon over on Ben's side, just as security. Marowak might as well just protect. Mandibuzz going for another Roost, just going to try to stay on the field as long as possible. It's still possible for these 2 Pokemon to get knocked out, but it's so much pressure. There's only going to be one more turn after this, and all you have to do is just protect with your Pokemon.
Yeah. I mean, he might take out Mandibuzz just for, a little consolation prize, but there's nothing really happening at this point.
Yeah. Snorlax goes for the horsepower. Going to target down this Marowak, picks up the KO. There's no point even going on the offensive if you're Hayden. Yeah. You set up the Perish Song a couple turns ago. The Perish count falls to 1, and that does it. All you got to do is just protect. You can't even knock out 3 Pokemon in 1 turn.
No. Yeah, at this point, it's over.
Former world champion Hayden McTavish.
Yeah. Well, he's shows why, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, he top-8 Nets a few years ago. He's been consistent. Always somebody you don't want to end up playing. He thinks through his moves a lot. He's very
methodical. He's very methodical.
He's very methodical and very intelligent when he plays the game, and it's hard to stop that.
Yeah.
Bennett just attacking himself.
Yeah, so it's over. Bennett knows it. He admits it.
Yeah.
We're going to get to watch these Pokemon faint because of the Perish Song, because of how well Hayden played that game.
Yeah. And the double edge on his own Arcanine saves us a little more time. Thanks, Bennett.
Picks up the KO on his own Arcanine. Snorlax got 2 KOs this game. Yeah, sure. We see the parish counts fall to 0. All Pokemon on the field that heard that parish song earlier are going to get knocked out. And that does it. Hayden McTavish takes Game 2 with parish song here in round 6. Moves on to 5-1. Two more wins, and he should be able to secure a spot in the top cut.
Yeah, 2 more wins, and yeah, Hayden's in. And that'd be quite the player to have, especially in top cut. You know, you want to see somebody like that that's playing so well today, and that has a team like that, especially that's able to lock down. It's interesting. We haven't seen something like the late game parish song Marowak. It's something that I guess keeps things interesting on the stream. And hey, I hope that people enjoyed that as much as I did. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and boy, two quick games for Hayden McTavish. Former senior world champion defeats former senior national champion. 2 big tournament winners. Exciting set that we just saw. Unfortunately for Bennett, he just didn't have the pieces to be able to bypass Hayden. Again, sometimes I thought he kind of overextended on some plays.
Yeah, it seemed like he was kind of grasping for something. I don't know if maybe he just didn't feel very good about his matchup. Could have been a few different things, but Hayden definitely knew what he had to do. And I think Ben maybe was just trying to pull something out. Maybe he didn't feel confident. Could have been that. And sometimes that's just what happens. We've seen a couple odd matchups today. Sometimes, like when with Aaron versus Tom, you could pull it out. Apparently, Tom timed out of that match. So, in cases like that, you kind of hope for something to happen. But in this case, Hayden was not letting it happen.
Pressure is on.
Yeah.
That knocks Bennett down to 4-2. He still has a chance to top cut depending on how his resistance goes, but he's going to have to win his remaining matches if he wants a chance to make it to the top cut. And we still have. That was round 6. What, we got two more rounds here?
2 more rounds.
2 more rounds here at the 2017 Pokemon Video Game Regional Championships here in Portland, Oregon. Stay tuned, everybody. There's 2 more hype rounds today of this tournament. Stay tuned.